Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to Volume 58 of the One Piece Virgin Eggheads Book Club podcast covering the Marineford arc of One Piece, chapters 563 to 573. And Eggy, before we get into Top of Mind, I need your help. What should the title of this episode be? I'm thinking, Luffy saves Ace, thanks Mr. 3.
I mean, that's
accurate
that's
title.
It's accurate. Yeah.
I love that. It's such an epic panel. Like, oh god, the scaffolding's breaking. Oh, what's happening? Oh, it's a big flame. And then epic panel of Ace is freed and Luffy's right by him, and it's like, holy shit, they fucking did it. Against all the odds, all these admirals and warlords, Luffy somehow fucking punches Garp straight to the ground, frees Ace. Now, we're going to have to figure out how and why Mr. 3 was one of the executioners. I got a few questions, but Eggy, do you have any other suggestions for the title of this podcast? Would anything be more accurate than that?
Sorry, Gramps, Luffy v. Garp.
Pretty good, pretty good. I hope we get a rematch in the final war. That'd be pretty epic. Well, maybe Garp will try a little harder next time.
We could say Luffy's final hormone dose. You know, at least I don't know, because that might not be accurate. He might need some more.
Yeah, I don't know how trans people work. Do they ever have a final dose, or is that more of a keep going until you're done? And by done, I mean dead.
I'm a little more familiar with the men who take testosterone, and I know, just like The Rock, you've probably seen him lately. He's looking a little different. Basically, once you stop heightening certain levels or depleting certain levels, whatever the case might be, stop fine-tuning, then things might just kind of start averaging out. So,
well, folks, we have more chapters to cover today than ever before, because this section also included online the special Chapter 0 that covers the adventures of Shiki. Was that his name, Eggy? And
the Golden Lion.
We get to see more pirates that were at Roger's execution. So if you have not read special Chapter 0, it is canon. Go seek it out and read it, because it's part of this, evidently. Eggy, out of all of that, what is your top of mind?
Well, you know, I was kind of back and forth on it, but I think I am going to have to say that the cliffhanger, I feel like I've been hanging off a lot of cliffs for a lot of volumes now. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I think I'm not. Well, that would be Ace. Listen, he can't take that disrespect, all right? Ace is on his way out. Whitebeard is holding up the Marine forces. He's ready to go down with the entire Marineford island. But Akainu, he's hollering, he's woofing at Ace, saying, "Oh,
barking dog,
loser." Whitebeard, what a complete failure, loser. Yeah, he ain't nothing. He's whack. He's got no swag, and etc. And Ace,
it's even more personal than that. Like, Whitebeard, your adopted dad, is not just any loser for the title of Pirate King. He's a loser to your dad, who you hate. The guy you hate the most is superior to your piece of shit Whitebeard loser. And Ace, after all this struggle, everything that just happened in these last fucking 60 chapters, Ace says, you know what? I'm gonna have to throw my fire fist at this man. And it burns up his hand pretty bad, which leads me to believe perhaps this final blow here, as you're alluding to, maybe Ace will be a little bit injured next volume. What do you think?
Well, I was kind of hopeful, as I'm coming into this. It's really the, I think, third to final panel of the volume, which shows Akainu's magma fist going directly through Ace, like from the back. And it looks not so good. However, my first inclination as soon as I'm seeing this panel is, okay, well, this is a guy. We see something, I think, similar with Crocodile in this volume here, where he's doing some combat and he gets beheaded, but his head just like disintegrates into sand and then appears on his shoulders. Yeah, that's pretty epic, by the way. But I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, Ace, he's got to be like that. He's going to dissipate into, fire. But I don't know. I guess I don't have the panel in front of me. I don't think there was anything of like a sea prism stone being shown or anything like that either. There is something brought up about that a little bit before, maybe like 2 chapters prior. But anyway, I would be immediately inclined to believe, oh, he's just gonna form around it. What's the big deal? But then we see the Viver paper that Luffy's for Ace that helped him determine his location in the first place, tied to his life force, basically just immediately starts disintegrating into nothing. So that's a bit concerning, I'm not going to lie. Maybe a little bit less so now that we have had the sort of trick in the hat coming up out of the sleeve, the Ivankov hormone treatment that could just, get you back on your feet at the minor expense of taking many years off your life. In this case with Luffy, it's, he's basically pushing himself to the absolute brink of death just to continue fighting on that count, and then also just the fact that he's up against such very overwhelming foes here. But yeah, that whole instance, not to contrast what you were just saying a bit ago so severely, where it was such an incredibly wonderful and positive thing. The key that Luffy had for the shackles gets sniped in half, but thankfully Mr. 3 is there. He makes it happen. Everybody's about to escape. Whitebeard is martyring himself, basically, which was kind of like a prediction of mine, or at least it would appear that way anyway. I thought maybe that had something to do with it. Going to get his people charged up, going to get them where they need to be, even if it does kill him. And it's all set up in just such a way. But Ace, he might say he's a little bit of a hothead. Whitebeard's saying, get that hothead out of here. But just like many men who have said such great things, doesn't always go according to plan.
And throughout this volume, there's an emphasis on, in this battle, distractions are going to be the determining factor, whether you win or lose. They don't get distracted. And right there, Akainu, he's going for the kill on Luffy. He's not even going for Ace, he's going for Luffy. Ace was distracted by burning his hand, Luffy's distracted by all this. So either Luffy was going to die, or Ace has to jump in and be the shield for him. Don't get distracted anymore, folks. Oda's very clear about that. And maybe time and time again, we'll see that be the downfall of people.
Oh, I don't know if I have an exact power meter measurement for Ace compared to Luffy. Obviously, I believe he should be stronger with his role as a division leader in the Whitebeard Pirates and all. I don't think Luffy's quite there yet. But
Luffy admits as much in this volume, like, one day I'm going to catch up to you. So I think Ace is written to be much stronger than Luffy.
Okay. Because, he is at a high capacity right now for combat mobility and so on, due to the fact that he did just receive this, basically teetering between life and death final hormone dosage. That's as much as he could possibly take.
But then Fleet Admiral Sengoku becomes a giant Buddha man and punches him straight in the gum balloon, and he had like blood pouring out, so maybe that knocked the adrenaline out of him.
That's true. I mean, it's no matter how you slice it, this has been a very, very hectic and very, perhaps, with it being titled Paramount War, Enies Lobby was already felt like the pinnacle of, shaking up the entire world, but this has got to be coming pretty close, if not exceeding it, considering that we're, so devastatingly in combat with the most powerful Navy personnel that are on the entire planet, more or less.
Where do you see this going from here? Ace has been turned into a donut pretty much by Magma Fist. Luffy is, just sitting there on his knees like a little cuck boy, and we got Akainu standing right in front of him. Yeah, is it time to retreat? Do we fight these admirals here? What do we do?
Well, I was wishing at the end of the last volume, like, oh, come on, this can't be it. I don't want Whitebeard to slump over. I feel like Whitebeard, he really put up some powerful offense against the Navy in this volume. So maybe if this is where he's cutting out for a little while, I like him all the same, but it would land with me a little bit better, at least, that we did get this volume. So if they do have to retreat, they were able to have like a duplicate Moby Dick that was already all sealed, and underneath, we didn't lose any Straw Hat so long as Luffy is able to escape. And it's devastating if Ace would have to be left, and we don't know, is he dead? The Viver paper would kind of imply that that might have been a lethal wound. I guess at best, we can get Ace in like an unconscious and very heavily wounded state where he's not going to be susceptible to that sort of provocation anymore, and we could still scoop him up, get him on the Moby Dick, and we could get to some place somewhere that medical attention could start to be given to him. Even Ivankov maybe would have just something that's enough to, keep him from just totally dying right there. Maybe just keep him in a coma for a little bit.
The
something
hole
like
through
that.
the chest hormone.
Ivankov's gonna stick his entire skull like in the hole and just be living inside to.
You once had a theory that the One Piece is Ace, left behind by Roger, but as far as I can tell, Ace is no longer even in One Piece.
I mean, it is certainly possible. I'm going off what the Viver paper had to display here.
He might have a whole middle, donut hole piece that's, somewhere else now. Who knows what happened?
I mean, maybe there's also still a possibility the magma could be like a, I think there's something like that in Pokemon
It
where
cauterizes the wound?
You could, is it a status or like an inherent effect, whatever they have? I feel like there's something where if you get applied with a certain type of elemental damage over time, like a burn, that it could actually heal you instead of damaging you. Maybe I'm thinking of some other game series, but
there are like
something to
some Pokemon have an effect or like an item where if you're poisoned, maybe you heal from the poison instead of take the damage. I don't know about a burn,
but a giant magma hole.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something to float, because once again, this is where I was at in chapter 562. I'm saying, well, we just got Whitebeard. We don't want to. I can't be having Whitebeard just drop dead right now. So I'm gonna reuse my same cope in that cliffhanger from last week, and I'm gonna reapply it here because I suppose it could be, but maybe one.
Well, is that an intentional parallel? The previous volume ends with Blackbeard being stabbed through the torso all the way, and then he is just fine and fights for the next whole volume. This volume ends, Ace being, his whole torso is being penetrated. Is it gonna repeat? And he'll be like, I'm okay, Luffy, let's go. Flame on! And he flies him off.
I ought to just observe that last panel here real quick, make sure there's no Sea Prism Stone or I mean, it looks very devastating. Certainly, and there's definitely a lot of bloodshed. So I guess
maybe it will not be a mirror to the previous volume's ending. I don't know, Eggy. Where do you want it to go? Would you like Ace to survive or die here? It's really Schrodinger's Ace right now. We don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, he's seems a little bit volatile, and that's understandable. I guess it could be a little dicey to have him around under those conditions, but we had him up on the platform. He was discouraging anybody from even approaching. He's saying, I'm here by myself. Luffy, you said no way. You're my brother. I'm going to do whatever it takes to help you. They get there, and the sacrifice has already been made. It's very apparent, everything that's been laid out, but he just does not take that into consideration at all. He's just 100% willing to let his pride overtake all of the sacrifices that all the people on the Whitebeard Pirates have made. Luffy going in Impel Down and coming back and everything like that, just to, stand up for Whitebeard, get taken out. So that's why I'm really feeling like if we're going to have him alive, it would be beneficial for his own sake for him to be in like a essentially crippled state, a very severely reduced state, because that might be what he needs to keep him from just going off and blowing up over everything that's been going on. That's kind of got him on edge in a few different ways. He's just ready to go off. If we could, don't want to kill him, but just maybe if this is a near-death experience, that might be what we need to wrangle him effectively until we can get to some safer ground anyway.
In terms of long-term storytelling, what would be the point of this epic mission to save Ace that goes on for over 100 chapters probably? I mean, if you count ever since we heard about Ace seeking out Blackbeard all the way back in Drum Kingdom. This has been a storyline, hundreds of chapters in the making. What would be the point or significance of killing Luffy's brother after, putting us through all of this?
Well, I mean, it's not like we haven't already been enemies of the Navy, on the Straw Hat side to begin with. This would certainly be such a terrible and traumatizing tragedy for Luffy to have to behold, his brother being brutally eviscerated right before his very eyes by a Navy admiral. I don't know if...
Do we need to traumatize Luffy? Hasn't he been through enough after Saba Odi, for fuck's sake?
Yeah, I don't feel like even if he was super like, oh, I hate the Navy so much, I'm gonna go against them for life no matter what it takes. I mean, I don't really see how that would change anything so meaningfully. I guess it would provide some story that we could just keep on rolling along that way. But if you want to be king of the pirates, I think it's pretty much already understood that you're going to have to be against the Navy, and you're going to have to know how that is to begin with. Yeah, it was in the same way that Ace got that punch to the gut, that's exactly how I felt as well. I'm like, I was already sad enough about Whitebeard, but there wasn't enough built up behind him in the way that Ace has been to really just make me fall to my knees and be like, you dumb motherfucker. Shut your mouth, boy.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Are you disappointed in the writing here? Are you disappointed in Ace's character? Because, as you can imagine, this is a controversial moment. Oh, Ace ruins everybody's sacrifice because it's like in Back to the Future when Marty McFly in the second one suddenly gets offended by being called a chicken, even though that was never brought up in the first movie. All of a sudden his character arc is he needs to overcome his pride when people make fun of him. Like Marty McFly, he's on a skateboard and hangs on the back of cars. He doesn't care if you call him a chicken. He's cool as fuck. So I don't know where that came from. Were you disappointed in Ace to fall for this bait? Because I think Aka Inu himself literally was. There's one panel where he just has like a big question mark next to his head, like, for real? This actually worked on this motherfucker? Like he cannot believe Ace is turning around.
Well, and this has been pretty consistent here, I think, since the last volume also, where they're not shy that they're trying to employ various tactics and misdirection and different things on behalf of the admirals in order to have this successful execution. So, on one hand, I am extremely disappointed because, I mean, you're right there at the finish line. Whitebeard, I mean, how many times you can have a duplicate ship like ready to go and it just like pops up? I mean, not to have any repeating criticisms of ships appearing in lobbies of the Navy or anything like that at the perfect moment. But if it's gonna happen, I would say take the blessing. Obviously, it's gonna be hard for him to go away from Whitebeard, but you should be able to understand it. I could see the volatility, though, because like I just mentioned before, he was very emotional and discouraging the fact that anybody showed up at all. Like, he was kind of ready to die, and I'm sure he had been mentally, especially as an impel down, he's probably just layering that mentally. I'm going to die. And he's kind of got his mind in a certain type of way. Very emotional, the fact that he's captured it all and restrained when he's such a really explosive personality to begin with, I'm sure it was very humbling, and I'm sure he's just been waiting for a moment to explode in that way, to be provoked when he's completely open and free, and there's his enemy right there saying the most hurtful things that he possibly could when he's seeing, somebody who he cares about the most, Whitebeard, in what appears to be a, sinking situation. That's this sacrifice that he's making in order to allow all the other people to escape and rebuild. So the volatility it's shameful, and I want to say, how could you do that? But I feel like there was enough that I could understand about who he is as a man and the positions that he has been through over these last number of volumes, that I couldn't say that if I was in his shoes that I would make a different decision, because we could be logical removed from it, but to be in the midst of it in such an intense, volatile situation, it's hard to say that I could be any better, but I wish he was. I wish he was.
Yeah, we can all be Monday morning quarterback for a literal war, but I guess when you're in it, maybe you're not thinking as logically as we are at our podcast studios.
And of course, as you mentioned, Luffy, he also has a lot of reason to, if he's already in the mindset that this is the last hurrah, my brother did this incredible thing for me. Now, him putting himself in that situation where he's willing to risk his life with this hormone injection and all number of things, really. Now he's about to be put into a position where he could be killed by Akainu. I've already had the mindset that it's over for me anyway. It might be just a reflexive kind of thing as well, but he could have walked away. He got provoked, and it was a bit sacrificial on his part, as he mentioned.
And maybe
the beaver paper seals it, apparently.
Maybe the Whitebeard pirates even agree with Akainu, because Akainu says, "Oh, the Whitebeard pirates are cowards, huh? They're just running away from the fight." And Whitebeard's telling them to do that, but they don't really want to. And Whitebeard really has to put his foot down and say it multiple times. So maybe the words are ringing too true. But you got to follow Captain's orders, or else this is all for nothing.
Right. We saw right there in Water 7, even the most beloved and seemingly perfect crewmates, they could get put into certain situations where something just ain't sitting right with one or the other. Sometimes tough calls have to be made. This would be one of those instances. Once again, easy for me to say, oh, well, we've seen him in Whitebeard in this ill situation on his ship with all the tubes and the healthcare personnel, the beautiful nurses. So if he's he's in a position where this might be just as much of a reason for him to sacrifice himself as Ace is doing here, possibly at the conclusion of this volume. So
my top of mind real quick, just to piggyback off this whole conversation, is I think, if anything, the pacing is too quick. I would have liked to see maybe even multiple chapters of Luffy and Ace tag teaming all these Marines together. That's fucking cool. This is what we've been waiting for. That's the climax of this whole mega arc, is Luffy frees Ace, and these brothers get to kick ass together. It lasts a few pages, and then within the very same chapter, Ace is fucking donutted. So, if anything, Marineford could have been twice as long, and I think Oda even says as much at some point. But maybe his editor said, you got to get moving. We got 2 new members of the Measly crew by joining the membership of Mumkey D. Jones' YouTube channel. Number 1 is Mr. Dovey Aggie. What should Dovey, Dovey, do on the crew?
It sounds like a bird expert to me. Sometimes we might need to be knowing what kind of birds are in the sky. Where does that mean that we're at geographically? Maybe they might have certain calls that might, tell us where the south of something is. Maybe if we're looking for some golden treasure, perhaps. So, all right, our first ever bird master. Sounds good to me.
What about Paste? P-A-C-E-D, Paste. We got 2 people with 5-letter names. My autism is happy.
All right, well, we've been needing a fitness expert, I think, to help us get probably do some morning yoga, some Pilates, some running in place or whatever. When I think of pace, I'm thinking of you're pacing yourself on like an exercise. So that's where my mind goes for Mr. Paste.
And we need some sort of aerobics yoga instructor on our crew of almost 100 people at this point, I think.
That's right, Mr. Paste. He's gonna get you up at 7:15 a.m. With the sunrise. Gonna get you limber for the day because you don't want to be walking the timber for the day for being too out of commission.
Aggie, we don't have any cover stories, so instead should we cover Chapter 0? Because we could probably do a whole hour-long podcast just on Chapter 0. Heartsy and I do almost an hour off of solo chapters, and Chapter 0 is probably one of the best chapters in all of One Piece, to be honest. I mean, it's not really fair because it's extra long and it plugs in all my favorite characters. Fucking Tanjit, Gaimon, Hiralu. They're all here.
It is, I've spoken positively about Oda having flashbacks before, and this is kind of a whole different situation because it's not so much a flashback of something that we had previously bore witness to. This is all a lot of juicy information, fresh perspectives from people that we have come to know and love. So, I'm down for that because a lot of the rest of the volume, to be honest, outside of a couple of those emotional moments like Luffy v Garp, Ace escaping and then having his flare up with Akainu, it's a very combat heavy volume versus like story and plot, since we've kind of already had the momentum going of what was transpiring there at Marineford. So I'm perfectly down for some chapter Strong World Zero conversation.
Should we watch the Strong World movie? Because now this is when Oda wanted you to watch it, so maybe we should check it out this weekend. After we watch the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, of course, which we have to do Is It Kino on with low res.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chapter 0, we get to hear the adventures of Shiki, an old rival to Gold Roger, and then we get to see a little of the execution. Where do you want to go with this one?
Well, first thoughts is that young Garp, he's on some Flash stuff, and young Sengoku with the afro. I'm like, hey, okay, these weren't just some squares back in the day. They had some style, some flair, some raw power. I could definitely see myself getting down with what they were representing.
We have young Aokiji, who is kind of worshiping Garp. He thinks he's really cool, and Garp keeps refusing to get promoted to Admiral because he wants to have, I guess, more freedom in the Marines and not be a direct puppet of the higher-ups, I guess. And poor Aokiji, he admires that so much, but then falls into the trap of becoming an Admiral later in his life. So that's an interesting little piece of that puzzle to plug in there.
Kind of reasoning why he was maybe allowing things to smooth over at Long Ring, Long Island, because he
decides not to kill Luffy because he's literally in love with Garp.
Right. I'm sure some of us have had these points in our lives where we've been a member of something, an organization, a business, and we show enough promise to where they want to give us a higher rank, a higher status, and more responsibilities that come with that. And if we don't have anybody with more experience to be near us and tell us, maybe not, you maybe don't want to do that, we end up taking those responsibilities and getting heaped with a lot of extra stuff that we don't want to do for, relatively the same amount of compensation in most cases. So I think Garp, he might have been ahead of the curve, ahead of his time on that one. Like, hey, even just besides having to be directed in that way by his superiors, just nothing wrong with falling back a little bit. You already know what to do. You're already seasoned, experienced. You can just kind of be over here and chill with a little bit less pressure. I think that's the way to go.
We see the Roger crew, and Buggy was giving me some real Usopp vibes. Like, he's like the scared, worried one. I guess at this point Roger had his illness going, and they didn't think Roger should be going into battle. So is Usopp, the Buggy, are these like equivalent characters, even though they've never met and maybe never will?
Well, another thing that resonates for me between Usopp and Buggy is the embellishing, which we've seen on very full display here ever since the escape from Impel Down and the battle at Marineford. And we see here on Roger's crew, he's like, whoa, hey, I'm not capable. I can't do this right here. This is above what I'm capable of. I need to step back, take me out of it, which is kind of what he's thinking to himself, even in some of the things that have been happening in the last 1 to 2 volumes here. But when the moment for recognition of his greatness is put forward, then he's got to stand up tall and say, why, yes, I'm Captain Usopp, I command 80,000 men, I'm Captain Buggy, I'm sailed with Gold Roger, I'm the greatest of all time. So I
maybe
think
they'll have they might have a similar trajectory long term, maybe.
They're both known for their noses, you know?
Hey, meanwhile, homeboy Shiki, he's got the largest pirate fleet around, okay? He's an old school, he's original Yonko. Before they even had emperors, he was trying to be an emperor. And they have this big naval battle at sea with Roger, but Roger evidently gets super lucky. Like some storm comes in to save him and wipes out all of Shiki's fleet. And then when Roger gets captured and killed by the Navy, Shiki, it's like the one good thing about Hunter x Hunter is that fucking the rival guy whose name I don't remember, when he's so pissed that the main character died in episode 1, and he's like, no, I was supposed to fight him. How could this happen? Like Shiki has that exact reaction to the Navy taking out Roger. Like, you motherfuckers, there's no way you beat him. There's no way. I know how strong he is. So he goes in to fight them at Marineford, and it's interesting that they plug this into the middle of the Marineford arc. Like, this is the original Marineford with Shiki solo against Garp and Sengoku, and gets thrown into Impel Down, so loses somehow. We don't really get to see it. But do you have any thoughts on this original Marineford?
Well, you know, I feel like just based on his trajectory of what he was doing, I feel like Shiki could have some reasons to be a character that I would enjoy, that I could get behind, that I could support, because, I mean, we're essentially in a very similar situation now by supporting Luffy and Ace and Whitebeard, at least in this particular circumstance. I guess I don't know all of Whitebeard's history yet either. Maybe one day I will. But I just don't know if there's enough that I get to see here with Shiki's backstory to where I know for sure that he was in the right 100%, at least for like what my moral standings would be. Because, I mean, you know, Garp, yeah, he's a nice guy when he's not having to, you know, go against his own family because they're revolutionaries and troublemakers and so on. Sengoku, he's got a fly afro. He's not freaky like Kizaru or vengeful and bloodlust like Akainu or, you know, Aokiji. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of middle of the road on him right now. You know, I'm not 100% sure because he's probably still going to have to be an enemy for the most part. But, I mean, if he had that kind of power to where he was able to outdo Gold Roger likely on real, actual, solid, equal footing without circumstantial benefits to Roger.
And let's talk about his power, because Roger did not have a devil fruit. Shiki does. And somebody on this podcast, I'm not going to say who, they once mistakenly lied to everybody and said Shiki has Magneto powers, but with gold. And that if anything's gold, he can make it levitate. No, I guess that's the plot of the movie One Piece Gold, which I probably fell asleep watching, so I got it mixed up in my head with the plot of the Strong World movie. Maybe. But I guess Shiki's power is just flight. And that's how he escaped from Impel Down, is that he could fly. But my question is, what? The power of flight? We have learned that even vice admirals in the Marines can moonwalk. Momonga moonwalks and then kicks Luffy in this very volume. What do you mean your power is you can fly? Are you fucking kidding me? Anybody can. What a waste of a fruit.
We know that's one of those Cypher Pole special skills, that airwalk and that sort of thing.
No, Momonga did it. He's not even in Cypher Pole.
I know, but I mean, it's still something you'd have to train specifically and especially outside of your devil fruit. I would
this
like
is
to
a
say
Gold
maybe,
Roger level pirate. Like, what are the probably 5 strongest dudes who ever lived? You telling me he can't learn airwalk? He needs a fruit?
Well, I'm thinking that the flight fruit or whatever it's called, I feel like this could be utilized in the same sort of way where it might even be like how a Super Saiyan instant transmission could be, because you know, maybe when you first had your flight fruit, you're kind of just like, ooh, you're going around, you're up in the air, you do anything. Maybe now you have like Mach speed, you know, just like some real crazy stuff that
even then
can be utilized.
The CP9 can just train Shave to go at Mach speed. So, I don't know, Shiki, I think he wasted his fruit. He could have got something better, but the fact that he was that strong with just the ability to fly, I guess, is pretty cool. I like the detail that the way he escaped is he just cut off his legs. They only had the Sea Prism shackles on his ankles, so just chop them off and fly on out. and then I guess shove some sword hilts into your wound to be your new legs.
Seemed a little brutal, perhaps, but I mean, the brutal, what I would call the saw method of escaping is definitely what my first thought went to. But also at the same time, when we have somebody like Buggy, when he was doing his thing and helping Luffy get to the New Common Land, where he's, when they're going through the Crimson Hell Field or whatever it was, like as long as his feet were still touching the ground, and the rest of his body was able to fly up in the air. So maybe we can see if you're a flying kind of man, yeah, maybe whatever's going on with your feet, yeah, you can just not have to worry about. But the sword hilts, though, yeah, I mean, wooden pegs would probably be the way I think you'd want to go. But
yeah, is Chef Zeph the only peg-legged pirate we've ever seen? Maybe like some randos, that like some fodder characters, but let's see, anything else from
it's making me think of what similar to Killer was on the Sabaody Archipelago. I said I'm getting some like Valdo vibes, because I think Valdo has the face covering and then like has like blades on the hands, and I believe it's either I'm thinking of Valdo, or I'm thinking of, I believe there was like a Silent Hill creature or something like that had blade limbs. In any case, very terrifying, and maybe, I guess, come to think of it, with a flight power, maybe you could just like do like a flyby and like kicking your legs in the air type of attack with some blades. That might be pretty cool. But
maybe we'll get to see Shiki do that against Luffy in the Strong World movie. Reasons why this is the greatest chapter of all time. We get to see so many moments that only hardcore fans would truly love and appreciate. We get to see Tangent, even though the Pirate King is being killed, he's more worried about getting the record of stilts. That's the kind of man that I want to follow. We get to see Child Lucci with Hattori, the pigeon, training to fight pirates. Baby Duval, born looking like the fucked up Sanji illustration, and they blame it as a pirate curse, so even that was blamed on Gold Roger. Yeah. Now, here's something weird. Gaimon, we see him fall into the chest where he gets trapped, and I don't know if it's the translation. Do you remember what he yelled?
Miracle fight?
Miracle fight! What the fuck does that mean? I think it's a rough translation somehow, because I looked up Gaimon's wiki page, and I guess his pirate ship or crew was called Hallelujah, and I could see some weird fuckery with translations where miracle fight and hallelujah are the same word. That makes sense in my brain, but I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be. Who yells miracle fight when they fall into a chest?
Yeah, definitely sounds like some kind of special attack you would have. I'm thinking of like Final Fantasy, like, oh, when your health is below 30%, activate Miracle Fight, and your attack will go up by 50% or something if you're low health. So maybe an emergency technique. If your body happens to be completely enclosed and encapsulated by a treasure chest, you could tap into Miracle Fight to try to break out. But
is that what Oda wants us to assume? Like, what? What? If somebody can translate this for us to tell us what the fuck a Miracle Fight is supposed to be. If he's yelling hallelujah, come back, that would make more sense to me. Here, Luke, he's being a quack. I think he made some child burp up some bubbles or something. A Big Tom and Frankie and everybody building the sea train. It's like all of One Piece in one chapter.
And am I seeing this right? This is the King Cobra, and the guy that he's talking to looks like the bull man.
Igaram?
At Drum Kingdom, which would make sense. I must be confused here, but the guy, it looks like they're Drum King, because it looks like they have some snow like at the window, and it's the guy that was like the guardian of the village that had the zone type fruit.
Oh, Dalton? Dalton was there?
Dalton, yeah. It looks like King Cobra that's like talking to him and talking about.
I remember a panel of King Cobra talking to who I assumed was Vivi, but it must be Vivi's mom because it looks identical to Vivi, but she would not have been alive yet. I was like, what the fuck? How's Vivi there? But I need to see this panel you're talking about with Dalton, though. But,
it's like about maybe 80% of the way down the chapter page. But if I'm remembering right, because I think I remember the Guardian guys from Alabasta, and this definitely seems like it's more like it's Dalton to me. And so, and I'm thinking also because it looks like there seems to be snow outside the window, as far as I can tell, circles of something that I'm guessing is falling snow.
I came up with, and maybe somebody's thought of this before, but a brand new theory that changes everything I know about One Piece based on this chapter. We have Whoop Slap. Do you know who Whoop Slap is?
I believe, is that not the mayor of...
He's the mayor of Luffy's hometown. It wasn't until this volume that it struck me just how similar Whoop Slap looks to Mr. 3. And then, curiously, young Whoop Slap here is wearing a giant fucking hat. And Whoop Slap in any artwork, always wearing a hat. Eggy, I'll bet you $100 before the end of One Piece, we will see that Whoop Slap's hair is a 2.
But I mean, there's already a Mr. 2, though, so I mean, is that...
No, completely irrelevant. Mr. 3, his hair was in the shape of a 3 long before Crocodile gave him that code name. I think Mr. 3 is the son of Whoop Slap, Mr. 2, and that his grandpa is going to be a guy with a 1 for hair. They look identical, Eggy. And they both appear in this volume. I mean, technically, in the online version, they do. So, hey, folks, you heard it here first. Who else has that hot scoop? Whoop Slap is actually Mr. 3's dad.
Well, just because I want to see men with giant numbers for hair, I absolutely will take you up on this bet. And, hopefully we'll have another 20 years of One Piece to review to make sure that it fits in at some point.
Yeah, when One Piece ends, can somebody remind us of this bet? Because we're going to forget. Somebody keep track of all the bets, and we'll know who owes each other how much money at the end of the story. Whoop Slap is the original Mr. 2, people. Okay. Anything else from Chapter 0? Were you shocked that all these warlords and such were at the execution, and we see Doflamingo? I guess Buggy's not a warlord, but in that lineup of characters, we only see Crocodile from the back, which adds to the theory Crocodile used to be a woman. Why do we not see Croc's face?
I feel like there is a reason for everything, as far as I could consider. Actually, and I want to guess another double check here. I think the man who I thought was King Cobra, it might not be King Cobra. It might just be two very similar looking men. So I don't know what man was there talking to Dalton that preceded Wapol, but I'm guessing it was whoever he deposed to become the king of Drum Island.
Who may be Wapol's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I guess, with this establishing just a lot of a through connection with really everybody who we have seen so far, which maybe makes sense at this point because we've got a good understanding, certainly of the East Blue. We've, with supernovas, we've kind of got an idea of certain backgrounds and of prominent people in the other quadrants of the blue as well. We are, heading towards Fishman Island still in the near future, I would imagine. We're going to be in the New World, so I think a lot of things there. It's a lot of loose ends, or maybe if they're not loose, just a lot of consolidation of what we have come to know so far and really tying a lot of things together in our minds, at least, if not necessarily needed for the plot, but just to kind of bring it all back together for us at this point. So
we talked earlier about the global impact of this war being Whitebeard. He's keeping Fishman Island safe. Now we're at this war where he's offering to die, and if Luffy and the crew's next destination is Fishman Island, is that the next logical step? Does Whitebeard need to die for the sake of the story? If, now we need to see what Fishman Island's like without Whitebeard's influence, and, maybe Luffy can replace him. Is that the kind of direction you see it going?
Luffy goes and establishes permanent civil rights at Fishman Island. I think that it would track. Like I said, I would have been very unhappy, I guess, if Whitebeard had just keeled over and died right away. I mean, I'm sure they would have fleshed it out a little bit later on anyway, but...
Do you think he's going to take Ace's donutting well? Because he's still on his feet as of this volume, so is Whitebeard versus Akainu about to take place? Maybe that's how Luffy escapes.
Well, I feel like he's certainly going to be flipping Marineford upside down at the least. You know, he's pretty much already been doing that. I liked how, because we kind of saw him, you know, letting off these quakes when we got introduced to his power. He's getting these big tsunami waves as a result. But just this motion that he makes when he decides he's going to really go on the offensive, he just kind of goes up to the air and just goes like on the air, and then it's like...
Just like ripping the atmosphere.
Down. Yeah, this John Giant, I think they called him, which is a very fortunate last name to have. If he was John, regular size guy, and was a giant, that'd be very embarrassing. And yeah, just like pulling on the air, like flips him down, and the whole Marineford Island is just like. So they say he could destroy the world, and they were not fooling around. And I think that if he's already in a dying state, they're already saying, "Oh, get away from Pops." Do not like you'll get taken in his attack with him, get away from him. That's the kind of thing, especially when we're seeing the Viva paper burn up, that could make him maybe go into a berserker kind of mode and just say, "Oh, I'll flip." We've seen the island flip. I don't know. We've seen waves come up about 200 feet in the air, and if that's him when he's not completely pissed off, I mean, maybe he was getting a little bit more in that way after he got stabbed. But it's a little concerning for, I think, everybody that could be anywhere within his attack radius, that he might just be ready to go all the way, especially since Ace was and shown that.
We've talked about Chekhov's gun on here, where if you introduce like a gun or a certain power in its story, it better be utilized by the end, otherwise why is it there? And when you tease this guy has a power that can destroy the world, and now we're speculating he might be on his deathbed, I mean, are we going to see it or not? Will the world be destroyed in volume 59?
Well, I guess, if I want to say one thing about the cover story is there's no official cover story section throughout this volume number and everything like that, but we do see multiple illustrations of Straw Hat members, and they're all in a pretty comfortable situation in different environments. So maybe if it needs to pop off right here, Luffy, makes his most dire escape at the complete implosion. There's like a giant hole that gets ripped in the ocean, and everybody gets flushed down like a giant toilet, and Whitebeard just goes, fuck y'all.
I think I did give you the tease that volume 60 is the highest selling One Piece volume of all time.
And I won't lie, I think I remember you mentioning it, but it did not stick with me. So
what could we possibly be building to for that to be the peak of all time? 2 volumes away, Eggy.
Well, that would make me think, Ace might really be out for the count right now, because they probably, if that is how it's going, that would anger Whitebeard enough to do something like I said. I don't know how much you could do to the world. You could do these tsunami waves, but if the ocean is 10,000 kilometers deep right there, I mean, you've got islands, but is he gonna really part the sea and push the entire ocean over on top of itself and do a huge tsunami wave across the entire world and kill everybody? I guess that'd be the
name of this era is Whitebeard, Aggie. He fucking better destroy everything.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, Marineford has been really popping off, but if you gotta make everybody feel it. They haven't even been able to watch it on their beautiful screens in Sabayoti because they finally did freeze the transponder snail, got totally cut off. And the only thing that they got cut back into was Buggy still saying something in the background.
Let's go through the volume proper chronologically now that we wasted 30 minutes on chapter 0, although again, probably more interesting than the rest of the volume. To be fair, I love Marineford, but it is just non-stop action panels, really. Only so much you can really dissect. But here's something to dissect. And without spoiling anything about the future of One Piece, let's just say a lot of people are worried that the story might take a direction of chosen one, destiny. The character has no free will. It's just it was all planned before he was ever born. The story has not decidedly made that a fact at any point. It's just a possibility, and a lot of people are worried about it and think it goes against the message of One Piece and freedom. Well, and somebody in the the measly crew Discord, they made fun of me for posting this, but I was being sincere. The opening of this volume, the little Oda message says, "I hate it when things are already decided for you by someone else. From the day you were born, people say you're born in the year of the rabbit, or you're a Capricorn. No way, those animals just sound weak, so I'm changing it myself. I was born in the man-eating giant rabbit year. I'm also an anaconda-swallowing devil Capricorn." Folks, come on. Oda literally says, word for word, I hate that kind of story. He hates it, and he's going to invent something better. He's promising us this in one of the most important volumes of his story, folks. As Usopp said, have faith in Oda. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, you do not get to be at Oda's level of storytelling, of global recognition, global impact, just following along with the tropes. He's the man who sets the trends. He's the one who picks up on the finer points and makes them come together in a beautiful tapestry of grog, guts, glory, and a whole lot of swashbuckling.
And if he's going to plug in every trope, he'll at least invert it and flip it on its head and make the trope interesting and new and actually tell a story using these things rather than just filling up stock characters in the background. Anyway, people, remember that quote next time you think Luffy is whatever the fuck. Just remember, Luffy does not care about any of this, and he always does what he wants to do. He doesn't care about the backstory. He will sleep through it.
That's right.
Anyway,
it's all
Eggy, we have a court case, the trial of Squard. And last volume, we were trying to hypothesize what's going on. Why is Whitebeard allowing himself to be stabbed? Eggy, do you want to take the case here?
Well, yes. Shockingly, definitely was not on my checklist of what I thought was going to be the case here. Squard, he has succumbed to conspiracy theories. He's thinking to himself, oh, it was supposed to just be a peaceful protest at Marineford. We're going to peacefully get, Ace out after we just have some conversations together. But obviously there's been a lot of hot and heavy action already. So Squarty said, hey, listen, you set us up. This is a false flag, Whitebeard. You're over here. You've been rocking with these Navy guys for a lot of years. You're all old, and you've been at the top of your game ever since we were young bucks, just, grabbing our first saber and our first eye patch. But, yeah, and he also says that Gold Roger had killed his crew before he had been taken up. As was mentioned, that Whitebeard would kind of take the isolated loners, these guys didn't really have any other places to go, these misfit pirates, he would take them on as his own sons and hold them in a high regard. But Squard had his entire crew wiped out by Gold Roger, which then had him out there all alone, got taken in by Whitebeard. But then all the same, Whitebeard is knowing that Ace is the son of Gold Roger, who killed his entire crew, and he's been grooming him up and prepping him to be the Pirate King, to lord over Squard at some point, someday, when this is the man who killed his entire crew. And
it is a bit of a sticky, awkward situation for a leader to be in, where my protege, who I'm grooming to replace me, is the son of a man who murdered my friend, who also works at the business. Maybe I'm not going to tell him that and lie by omission, perhaps. But I like that Aka Inu is so ruthless and cunning that he's basically a pirate in his own right. Like, he does not play fair, he plays dirty, and he knows exactly which buttons to press on these people. Like, he's almost a mind reader. He knows exactly Squart's backstory, and that the secret about Gold Roger and Ace's connection would get to him. And then the fact that he's in charge of the Marines, he can just say, yeah, only attack these pirates to make it look like this conspiracy is true. And he uses the same tactics on Ace, and I think that was almost the whole point of this, is so that we understand the Ace thing. It's all Aka Inu being a ruthless, maniacal man who knows how to piss these people off.
Yeah, and when you have somebody like that who is willing to just be completely cruel, sadistic, and totally ruthless, show no mercy, just not even out of some inherent emotional, heroic duty, like what Luffy might be experiencing. This is just purely business. These pirates, they're scum, and there's no punishment that is too off limits to just tear them apart physically and mentally. And just to get his point across, really just to, connect a few small things and let them tear themselves up. What do they call that? It's like social manipulation. People use it a lot nowadays. It's very popular for doing schemes on the internet to get people to, give you something just by manipulating their own human nature. Somebody who's got that kind of ability is very, very terrifying.
And they even, Oda's touching on manipulation of the media, even where as soon as it's revealed, oh, Whitebeard betrayed his own crew, that's when Sengoku orders them to cut the feed, and Aokiji frees his buggy, and the whole world is left thinking, wow, Whitebeard is a scumbag who betrayed his own people, the exact opposite of the truth. And, I don't want to dive into recent events, but I feel like there's a recent false flag operation where the people in charge know exactly who they wanted to blame. They know exactly how they wanted the two parties in America to react to it and to start getting mad at each other, while the actual party responsible is literally on the other side of the world, laughing and collecting our tax money.
It is, they kind of, that's the sort of thing where you can pick up, not to scoot so far ahead again now since we're coming at the volume chronologically, and Ace's donuting, as you've referred it as, happens at the very end of the volume, but everything that was going on with Ace after he is freed here is very, like, you can definitely feel the parallels to that. Like, you could see what's going on, you could totally understand it. There's a higher consciousness that's in here somewhere where you can try and stand above it. But when you're looking at, somebody who you're looking at just the most absolutely explicit provocation, the rawest offense that you could possibly perceive, and be able to be coherent of that there's an animal instinct that just starts to override it, that tribalism.
As I scroll through my notes, I wonder what is just action in the story that doesn't need to be spoken about, and what is actually crucial for us to mention here. I like Luffy gets thrown by Jinbei over the wall, and he's holding onto this big mast, and there's that epic panel of the three admirals staring down Luffy with the mast. If anything, Marineford gives us just beautiful, epic artwork of amazing panels and spreads.
Yeah, the set at the island here and in the bay and everything, with the different devil fruit powers coming into play, the displacement by Oars Jr. and his size, by the quakes being generated by Whitebeard. We have the
strategy of put up these steel walls and then melt the ice that they're standing on with our meteors so that the pirates they fall into the ocean and drown. That's pretty brutal. Thank God for Oris Jr. blocking one panel of wall.
And as far as that goes with taking the ice out from under them, I also thought that it was it makes sense, but Akainu's meteor fist shower is so powerful and one of these is what hit Ace, I'm pretty sure. But it's so powerful that just to even make contact with the ocean that is solid ice. Okay, it's frozen solid here in the bay. Those meteors make contact with that water. It's so hot that even the ocean starts boiling, like with the pirates in it. So really, just an absolute hell.
But it frees Buggy, and it as King Cobra, not from this universe, would say, it de-thawed Buggy. May he rest in peace. And his snail, so that Buggy can continue live streaming the event. So are we expecting Buggy to take any, credit, or is he going to start filming the rest of the war? What is the world about to see? Donut Ace?
I wonder because so everybody was gathered from Marineford at the Symbiote Archipelago to observe the execution of Ace. If Ace is dying here whilst all of these other things are going on, this attack by the Whitebeard pirates, the escape from Impel Down and everything there, would they even have any kind of closure from that execution? I wonder, like, they're going to watch it like, oh, well, they got him. Now Marineford is turned into rubble, and, Whitebeard's over there flipping people upside down and flipping ships over and, possibly doing some other crazy shit.
Once they see that the execution scaffold has been destroyed, there might be some questions about how well the Marines performed here. It might go against some of the messaging and the false narrative that they're putting out.
I'm trying to say, as long as we could tell them that we handle business, they don't need all the fine points and all the fine details, and they're going to get an eye full of some of the most heinous destruction, and that's going to be broadcast everywhere. They're going to find out eventually, I'm sure, that, oh, you can't come back right now. We got to fix a couple things up because your entire island is dust. But yeah, as we know, when it's broadcast live for everybody to take it at once, I think that the momentum there from the collective informing or the collective perception of everybody could have some emotions spring up very quickly that could start causing some problems over on Symbiote Archipelago for Celestial Dragons or anybody if everybody's all of a sudden just in a panic and going pretty wild. I could definitely still see Buggy just pulling up and being like, oh, hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Captain Buggy here, back at it once again with another Marineford review. Well, it's not looking too good, folks, but your hero Buggy's on the case. It might just be what is he going to explain, when it's just smoldering meteor fist, and islands flipped upside down, and, Kiji's riding on ice through the sky, Kizuru's going around shooting lightning blasts or light beam blasts. I don't know if he would really have anything to say for that. He might just be like, yo, this is crazy, guys.
Well, hopefully Buggy can entertain the people in the middle of this war zone. Maybe we'll throw Buggy into Gaza and see if he can make that entertaining as well. We've got homeboy Kobe, and he says, you know what? I was scared before I saw Akainu kill a Marine, I think, in last volume. But there's Luffy. I'm going to use the shave technique, okay? Kobe, he's training up in the Shikaroki or whatever that shit was called. He knows the ways. He's training up quick. But Luffy destroys him in one punch. And I don't think it's the same kind of one punch as the Garp one. I think Kobe legitimately lost in one punch.
It's, there's definitely been more brutal impact, I think, about, Usopp getting sledgehammered to the skull and things like that. But the couple of panels there that have Luffy and Kobe approaching each other, just that one punch, and it's a knockout punch right away. You can just it just shatters his glasses, he's making a stink face, and how could he possibly know what the hell's going on with Ivankov's hormone blast? I mean, he just saw Luffy basically getting BTFO by Kizaru. Whitebeard's like, oh, you're an idiot that's just running on pure spirit, but I love idiots like you. So, but he's not, prior to this emergency life or death hormone infusion, it certainly wasn't looking good for Luffy even then, not to mention where he ends up at the end of the volume. But
is this disrespectful to Kobe, though? Because he's had such an epic training arc and transformation into this respectable, powerful Marine, and then he he ends up like who's that guy from Mocktown? Springman?
Well, it's not.
There's so many names to remember.
It was the guy who's getting punked out by the Broderick or Brody or whatever his name, pirates, or Bellamy.
Yeah, Bellamy.
It's the guy that Bellamy punks
Did
out.
Did Kobe deserve to get Bellamy like fucking one shot destroyed?
Well, there's been another really high intensity, high octane thing that I've been following along with lately called Big Brother, and they just had a huge upset recently. And
by the time this comes out, the season will be over, I think. So shout out to Keanu for winning the whole thing. Couldn't be prouder.
Right. But expect the unexpected has been going around a lot lately, just to try and quell some of the furious rage from the audience. It's not going the way that they wanted it to. So, yeah, there's no way possible, I don't think, that Kobe could have possibly had any idea what was going on with Ivankov and Luffy. All he sees is Luffy's, coughing up blood and getting his ass handed to him by Kizaru. The warlords are showing up, showing out. They're kind of doing their thing. They're coming full force, offensive.
Speaking of disrespectful one-shots, we get another one right away where Mr. One jumps in to save Luffy from Mihawk. And I like this. Chapter 50-ish, Mihawk versus Zoro. And he destroys Zoro with a little fucking butter knife. It's nothing. Zoro's greatest battle we've ever seen is against Mr. One. His ultimate struggle, a man who is made of swords, and Zoro learns how to cut him. And then here at Marineford, Mihawk obliterates Mr. One in one slash. Like, this guy Vista, fucking the swordsman for Whitebeard's crew, he was going head-to-head with him for a long time. He was sweating. He said, it'd be advantageous for us both to stop fighting. Mr. One gets killed immediately. I loved that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I felt like he was a pretty good combatant in Alabasta. He was, enough of a problem to get sent Temple down. But as I seem to recall, when they come across him in his cell, that Crocodile's like, "Oh, what's this? You loser or like failure or whatever." He dresses him in a negative way, as I recall.
I don't think he was that mean to him. They love each other. I'll have to check the tape on that one.
Yeah, something along the lines of like, "Oh, you." I seem to recall it was a derogatory remark, but maybe it was some bants, perhaps.
Yeah. There's no way. They both chose to stay in prison together and not go out.
Yeah.
And Mr. One, remember, his dream was to be a superhero, and here he is saving Luffy. So beautiful.
Sure, just like Bon Clay did his thing, he played his part, played his role. Mr. One played his part, played his role. We see Mr. 3, and also in this exact same volume, play his part, play his role.
Yeah, can we figure that out while we're here? Mr. 3. So we have these two executioners going to kill Ace. Then Crocodile knocks him out with some sand. I guess we need 2 new executioners, get some replacements. Somehow, in the fog of war, Mr. 3, who came in from Impel Down and fell out of the sky on the ship, I guess found his way into the Marine base, and they mistook him for a soldier and said, "We need replacement executioners, go up there." He's literally swinging the blade to chop off Ace's head. He's going through with the job. He only gets knocked out because Luffy uses Conqueror's Haki. And then when he wakes up from the Conqueror's Haki, he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I'll save Ace with my wax finger." You were swinging at his throat! What is happening? And it's not even explained why he's there! I think the anime explains it, and anime onlys might be confused why we're confused. I think they play it out, basically what I just said. But in the manga, what are we supposed to believe?
I think probably the best guess that you'd have to say is that he was gonna, maybe come down to the side, but even if he was coming down to the side, he's still got the other executioner there that's completely going against him. So really what he should be doing is going against the other executioner to try and parry his attack. But there's really no inclination at all whatsoever. As you said, we have a visual of the blades glistening, and there's motion trails that they are coming down directly over his head just prior to the hockey thankfully being the trick up Luffy's sleeve, really in his spirit, to pause everybody for just a moment so they can all go, oh, he's got the, no, can't be, he doesn't understand his power, you know, the typical stuff.
And Mr. 3 even says, like, there's a little flashback to Mr. 2 saying, go save Straw Boy's brother. And he says, hey, I'm doing this out of my love for my fallen friend, Mr. 2. Are you sure? You were killing Straw Boy's brother 3 chapters ago, dude. I mean, it's just like a weird writing. I'm not going to say mistake, but why would you ever write it this way? You have so much buildup of all these other things. Why can we not have 5 panels explaining how Mr. 3 got into this position?
Well, here's an idea. This might be something that nobody's ever mentioned before, but after Luffy employs the Supreme Haki to kind of knock everybody off for a second, at the same time that we are seeing the executioners go down, we also see our good friend Django collapse at the same time. Now, is it possible, perhaps, that these executioners, in order to make sure that they never have any sort of second considerations about their job, maybe Django was employed to do some kind of hypnosis to them to keep them like locked in for executioning? And if he happens to get drawn falling right at the same time as they do, maybe that could be like a come-to moment. But very convoluted to believe that, because we have no reason to believe that at all, other than just seeing Django fall depicted subsequent or at the same time as the execution, people falling down. So.
Should I ask ChatGPT why was Mr. 3 going through with killing Ace and see if they say Django did it? Because maybe it's true.
Hey, I'm always looking for other opinions. I know that AI is our great leader. If you want to type that in, I could bring up something very important in the SBS that we've all been thinking about. I believe it is in regards to our most beloved Boa Hancock. Well, whatever they're feeding these girls on Amazon Lily, it's doing a fine job, because Oda reveals that, just like our good friend Brian Risso loves to say, Hancock, she's a certified J-cupper person. So,
did he reveal her cup size specifically? Isn't J? It seems like too much.
It is pretty excessive. That's probably about like.
It's gonna rely on imaginary world physics for those titties to not just be straight down drooping. Like, if they're perky, that's incredible, but I don't think gravity would allow such a thing.
Hey, I don't know too much about the female anatomy, probably less than most, but maybe that there's enough muscle training, enough fitness training, whatever. Maybe that helps them.
I don't think there's a lot of muscles in their titties. Maybe. I mean, maybe some milk things that you could train up.
But then, Luffy, they say he was hiding under her robe to get into Impel Down. So maybe if she had about, 2 feet sticking out in front of her, that might have given him a little extra space to work with. So maybe it was all for the best. But yeah, I believe it was the SBS person asking the question that's like, oh, Oda, she's like a J cupper? What's up with that? And then he's like got all the exact numeric specifications. He's like, so as you can see, yeah, I think that is a J cup. And
I'm glad the experts came out.
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT says Django never hypnotized Mr. 3. Mr. 3 sneaks onto the platform disguised with his wax powers. I don't even know if that's true. I think it might be hallucinating that. If anything, he probably just put on a uniform.
Well, actually, okay, another idea, which I also believe is completely unsubstantiated. Maybe he replaced not just his sword, but the other sword with wax swords.
Okay.
So maybe he knew, maybe that was part of him getting up there. When they say he disguised using his wax fruit, I mean, sure, he's got a uniform on, but I think that would probably be pretty helpful if they just hit him in the back of the neck and it just like broke off like a candle.
And I think the unfortunate reality is, if I recall, he was just shell-shocked by the war and going along with what people told him to do. I think that's how the anime puts it, so it might be a disappointing answer.
He was just going to kill him, but then he snapped out of it.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking, what would my father, the mayor, Whoop Slap, do?
I mean, hey, People know they're going to be a pirate. You're going against the established law and order that is fact-checked by peer-reviewed experts, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. So if you're trying to go against it, hey, actions have consequences, and sometimes consequences have actions. That's what I've been told.
Consequences have actions, pimp.
That's right.
And with that, I think we've covered everything in the chapter, because we did begin with all these, ending chapter things. So anything else we haven't mentioned today, Aggie? Any other predictions or thoughts?
Let me think. Like I said, it was a very everything seemed so right. Like we're coming in, Whitebeard. Okay, boom. He's not dead. It was a misunderstanding, but it also doesn't have him keel over. That just really gets him amped up even more, which is kind of what I was hopeful for.
What was your reaction when Whitebeard gives Squart a hug and says, "I forgive you, my son"?
Emotional. Yeah.
Oh. Has your father ever forgiven you, Aggie? Because mine refuses to. I need Whitebeard as a dad.
Well, see, one thing about me is I don't think I've ever asked for forgiveness, so
you shouldn't have to.
I'm a little AC in that regard. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't.
If you were Squart and you stabbed your dad through the front with a sword, would he just give you a hug and say, "It's okay, buddy"?
No. I guess probably when I was younger, there might have been some times that I did ask for forgiveness for a couple things.
Squart didn't. I mean, Whitebeard. What's so cool is Whitebeard gave him the forgiveness when Squart was fully expecting to just be killed. So, what a great guy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Looking through my notes on these final. Sengoku being a giant Buddha man, and that's like a physical attacker. Does that go against what Buddha had to say? Should he really be a weapon of war? I think the Sengoku is just a big contradiction, and I hate him.
I think that the Buddha said you should be free from worldly desires and things like that. So I think it has to be almost an inherent contradiction if that's the case, because I feel like being a Marine admiral would inherently make you need to be extremely careful of everything that's a worldly matter. And you have things like, render unto Caesar and so on, where it might just, maybe it's of his hometown or something. Maybe they've got a spiritual connection there, and he was able to decide what form he could shift into, and maybe that's a throwback to where he comes from, and not so much employing the imagery that it establishes as far as what his power is, but just more of an honoring of his ancestry, an honoring of his tradition. And then also it's just, I'm a huge guy that can just beat you to death really easily now. So I think I've seen some characters over my years of media consumption who might kind of fit that bill, just maybe picking up some of their cultural trinkets and associations, imagery to incorporate into their combat style.
Well, Aggie, we've got volume 59 next week. I hope you have not looked at the cover of it yet, because it is a major spoiler.
As a matter of fact, I had not.
I think you're going to be pretty fucking hyped as soon as you see the cover. So everybody stay tuned. One Piece Virgins, I give you permission. It's time to read volume 59 right now. Get to it. See what made everybody in Japan freak the fuck out and say, we need to make the next one the highest selling of all time. What was the hype? We're about to find out.
Kind of getting me hyped up now. I might have to just immediately start reading it the second that we stop recording here.
Or at least look at the cover so you know what to expect.
True. But yeah, my final thoughts about, I was happy that Whitebeard was still there. It was emotional. The action was really intense because we have everybody now that's fighting as a major player. No more real grunts. There's a few here and there that are in the mix, but we're really getting the top dogs coming out. We had Luffy and Garp going at each other, which I figured that it was going to happen. And then, really just the my thoughts on what was coming next were, like I said, basically knocked real strong, just like that Magma Fist went right into Ace, because I thought for sure that it was going to be, maybe they could have had some, really super secret power, some alliance of all the admirals, like jumping out into the bay after the Moby Dick, and they're all on the ship like, ah. But just for Ace to get handled like that as the very last thing that happens in the chapter, it really makes it difficult, I think, for me to really have a great prediction. Other than kind of what I said before, hopefully there might need to be an escape. Maybe there's going to be, and if there is a showdown that continues, I think it's going to definitely have even greater lasting implications than burning the flag at Eni's lobby. So I feel like those are the two paths that I see as possible. And maybe they just have to, finalize some things now. They aren't able to keep on kicking the can down the road. They might just have to handle some business. But if it's too much to handle, I would totally understand that as well.
Folks, if you want to join the crew, become a member of the Monkey D. Jones YouTube channel. And Aggie, what's the hottest track of the fall that everybody should listen to?
Well, as of when we're recording this right now, I haven't even released it yet because I feel like Groove Buggy, it's not related to Buggy the Clown. It's a song about a pandemic of sorts. It's a pandemic that's going to just infect everybody across the globe. It's the Groove Buggy, and you're going to catch it when you listen to that song. So, but what you can do is anytime you need to check out my latest music releases, just go into your address bar and type mysweetmonkey.com, all one word, and it'll take you to where you can find it on Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and so on and so forth.
And that is no longer the Drake and Josh video. If you've been to that website before, this is relinking to something else. So again, mysweetmonkey.com. Go check it out.
I gave it 10 months, but since I have the URL, I'm gonna use it for some self promo.
Yeah, that video probably hasn't been watched in half a year. It's time to move on. Peace, people.